Robin Hood 2018 is the worst Batman movie ever made.
What the fuck?
So a while ago, I asked you guys to share with me some of your unpopular superhero movie opinions, and we got a decent amount of replies. Now I'm not going to go through every single reply for two reasons. One, because there was a good amount of people saying a lot of the same things, and two, because a lot of people just left essays in the comment section.
I really have a lot of unpopular opinions.
The movie Black Panther is average.
Are my favorite
Shuri in the MCU is
I
annoying.
personally think
The
that
Rosetta
Avengers
ruined
Test is Marvel's best
Endgame
movie.
was overhyped and overrated. Infinity War is better. Iron Man 2 is the worst MCU movie to me. Iron Man 1 isn't a good movie. I like Catwoman.
So I didn't want the majority of this video just to be the really long comments. So I went through and picked out the more interesting ones, and I tried to find some more unique unpopular opinions. But there would definitely be a few in this video that you've heard people say before. So let's go ahead and check it out. What the fuck you doing here, nigga? People only hate DC films like Man of Steel and BVS only because of Rotten Tomatoes and those so-called critics. Yeah, I agree with this one, and honestly it goes for not just these movies, but a lot of movies in general. I learned a long time ago not to trust what critics say. For example, a friend of mine never watched Batman vs Superman because he heard from the critics that it was terrible. I let him borrow it in Blu-ray and he never gave it back. He liked it that much. So take reviews from the critics with a grain of salt. Unbreakable is up there with some of the best superhero movies of all time. It definitely is one of the most unique superhero movies out there. This was M. Night Shyamalan at his best. This is back when he was still really good. And honestly, with the filmmaking, the style, the tone, it just doesn't feel like a superhero movie at all. And if someone goes in this movie blind, they're not even gonna know that it's in that genre until like halfway through. But yeah, it's a really good movie, and you should check it out if you haven't seen it. Thor Ragnarok is complete trash that dishonors the character of Thor and Hulk, and instead of giving them good character development, made them like they belong in a comedy rather than a comic book movie. Also, I hate the direction they took Thor and how it basically felt like a worse repeat of everything he already learned to overcome in the first Thor movie. The only thing I liked about it was Hela, Surtur, and Loki. Yeah, I was not a big fan of Thor Ragnarok either. Now, I understand why they changed him up, because people thought he was pretty bland and boring, mainly because his solo movies didn't stand out that much. For what it is, I guess it works. I just don't like the direction they took Thor, because they made him too goofy, and then later on he just got worse. This is a topic that I plan to actually make a video about, so stay tuned for that. The first Avengers is literally the most mid and bland comic book movie ever made. I somewhat agree with this. It is rather basic in its plot and execution, although there's a lot of really cool moments that I just like throughout the whole movie, and I really enjoyed Loki in this movie. I like the banter between the team because they just don't know each other yet, so they're having difficulty working together. I think it's an enjoyable movie, and for the first team up, I think it just works. It works. It's a very safe movie, nothing mind-blowing, but it works. The Dark Knight is only known and loved to this day because of Heath Ledger. Whew. Oh, that's hot. That's a hot take. I mean, this isn't completely wrong because when you mention The Dark Knight, the first thing most people mention is Heath Ledger's performance because it is really good. Yeah, in the movie, the Joker is just really interesting, and he kind of outshines the Batman. But what I think this person means is the fact that Heath Ledger passed away in real life is the only reason why people really care about The Dark Knight, and that's why it's really known and loved. And there's definitely some truth to that, but the performance itself is still really memorable. I don't know, that one can go back and forth on, but Heath Ledger's death definitely plays a part. Leave a comment, let me know what you guys think about that. If Heath Ledger didn't pass away in real life, would the movie still be as loved as it is today? This here is going to be very unpopular. Captain America Civil War is worse than Batman and Robin. I have essays worth explanations behind this. Ask me if you dare. Okay, Catmaster, please explain in the comments section. I really want to know why you think this. Bale's Batman wasn't as good as Affleck's. I feel the exact same way. I think Ben Affleck's Batman's like the best on-screen Batman we've ever had. I can't wait for that Batman to return in the Snyder Cut so we can erase this fucking clown from our memory. Batman vs Superman is a great film. It's not even an opinion, that's just true. But for real, it is kind of sad that liking that movie for a while was considered an unpopular opinion. In the past year or two, I've seen a lot more people come around to liking the movie. I think it's a mixture of people watching the Ultimate Edition and the people who avoided when it first came in theaters based on the critic reviews are now seeing it for themselves and realizing most of the reviews were full of shit. Man of Steel, Watchmen, BVS Ultimate Edition are underrated and they should be on the list of top 10 superhero movies. I agree 100%. Nothing more to add. All great films. Spider-Man 3 is really good.
So good.
Yeah, I actually like Spider-Man 3 a lot. I see it really as a guilty pleasure. It's funny, it's corny, it's goofy, but yet it all makes sense and it fits in the same world the first two movies created. I mean, there's some things that are just really disappointing and there's other things that are just fucking stupid.
I'm gonna cry.
But I really enjoy it. I like Ghost Rider. I can see its problems, and I know it isn't a good movie, but I like the movie. For me, the movie hits the it's so bad it's good territory. And also, Nicolas Cage is just fucking crazy in it. So yeah, the movie's so batshit insane and just so weird and bizarre that it actually becomes enjoyable. Still a pretty dumb movie, but a very fun movie. Second one sucked though. Now let's skim through all of these just to talk about this one. The Incredible Hulk is in top 10 MCU movies. I personally don't think it is. I'm more let down by the movie than anything else. It had a lot of interesting ideas and I love Edward Norton. I don't think Edward Norton has ever phoned it in on any of his performances, so he's really good in the movie. I just think the story is kind of bland. It's just a very straightforward by the numbers superhero flick. I do like the idea that his heart rate affects when he changes into the Hulk, so it limits him from doing a lot of things. So there's more to it than just him getting angry. It has been a while since I've seen it, so I might have to rewatch it soon. Maybe my opinion on it will change. As of right now, I still think it's better than Iron Man 2 though. The Dark Knight trilogy was ruined by the final movie. I will admit that the third movie is not as good as the second, but I think it's just as good as the first one. Although there are a lot of things in The Dark Knight Rises that I just don't like, or I think it's just stupid, or is executed poorly. A lot of little things, like how in some fight scenes some guys don't even get hit but they still fall down, or how Christian Bale's Batman voice just sounds absolutely horrible in this movie. Like sometimes you can't really understand him at all. I guess after 3 films it was finally taking a toll on his throat. Also there's a lot of plot conveniences. I don't absolutely hate the film, but I'm not totally in love with it. The Joker is an overrated comic book movie. A great story for Arthur, but in no way is he the Joker. Yeah, I've actually heard this one a lot ever since the movie came out. They say Arthur doesn't actually feel like the Joker that we're familiar with, and if you take away the comic book references, you wouldn't even know that this character is supposed to be the Joker. I remember in an interview with the director Todd Phillips, he basically played around with the idea that the events that happen in the movie could inspire a Joker that we're more familiar with. Personally, I wouldn't call the movie overrated because it exceeded my expectations. But leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. Is the Joker overrated? Is it a good comic book movie? Is it a bad one? Let me know. And thank you Carlos Hernandez for leaving this comment because now I know what clickbait title I'm gonna use for the video. Justice League is not the worst superhero movie. Ooh, that's hot. I think it's definitely one of the worst, but it's also probably the most disappointing superhero movie. Come on, the first big screen team up of the Justice League and we get this? I was underwhelmed, dissatisfied, and disappointed. I'm trying to think of what's a worst superhero movie off the top of my head. Fantastic Four? All of them? Yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. I personally think Shazam is worse than Suicide Squad. Unfunny, cringe, and horrible acting. Nah, fam. I really like Shazam, but I think there's 2 things holding it back from being a really great movie. The first one being the jokes. Like, it'll have a pretty funny joke or a really good moment, but then it'll just kind of push it for too long and it lingers and almost ruins the joke. That happens throughout the whole movie where something funny will happen, but then they try to keep the joke going or it just overstays its welcome. And I think the third act is kind of a mess. There's a whole bunch going on, and the whole climactic battle just kind of drags on and on for about 15 minutes. So yeah, I can understand why people don't think the movie is actually that funny. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is underrated. I agree to an extent. I think Andrew Garfield makes for a pretty good Spider-Man, but he's kind of a lousy Peter Parker. I mean, look at this fucking guy. He's handsome, he skateboards. There's no way this guy would be a fucking nerd in high school. There's no way he's getting picked on. There's definitely no way he's single. This guy is crushing puss in between classes. Come on, let's be real. I just wish that he was in better Spider-Man movies. Aside from some pretty awesome shots and set pieces, I just don't think they're that great in movies. The second one being unintentionally hilarious sometimes.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
Black Panther is good, but way overrated. Yeah, it's a very overrated film. I think Michael B. Jordan's performance as Killmonger was the best part. The movie looked pretty bad with some really terrible CGI, and they used vibranium to solve like every issue. Like, what doesn't that shit do? The movie was full of some very awkward humor and referenced some like dated old memes.
Question is, what are those?
Soundtrack was pretty good though. The Crow and Constantine are some of the best comic book movies. I wouldn't say some of the best, but they are definitely some pretty underrated movies. The Crow being a really good movie that came out in a time where comic book movies were kind of garbage, and had a great performance from Brandon Lee. And Constantine I haven't seen in quite a while, so probably is actually a bad movie. But from what I remembered, I actually really enjoyed it. I even loved the stupid little spin-off game that came out around the same time. I'm also a big fan of Keanu Reeves, so that kind of plays a part. Alright, that's gonna do it for all the unpopular opinions. Go ahead and leave a comment and let me know some of your unpopular opinions. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and drop a like on it, and if you want, you can follow me on Twitter, link down below. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you next time.
I think that Justice League is a good movie.
Hey yo, what the fuck?